Hey folks, welcome back to Nutrition Made Simple. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is a series where we just talk about all things holistic health, and then we break them down into easy to understand and actionable steps that you can take. For the month of June, we've been examining some topics centered around pain. And today we're going to look at the connection between stress and pain. We're going to define what pain is, how it affects our body, what's really happening, and then some ways to address both of those issues. So, Ed, I know that we've done this in a previous video, but let's just hit on it one more time. What is pain and what's happening in our body when we feel pain?
Great question, and until I investigated it, I was confused like most people. You know, if you sprain your ankle, you think that the ankle is actually having pain messages sent from the ankle, and it's not true. What happens because of the wisdom of nature and our human bodies is there's a signal from the ankle that goes to the brain. The brain interprets it as something that is potentially dangerous. Then, with its wisdom, it says, if you've just hurt your ankle, I don't want you to do more to hurt it further. So we're going to send a pain message to that part of your body that then will stop you from further pursuing anything that might be more dangerous. You can imagine the benefit of this to young children, to animals that don't have any conception of or perception of what just happened to them. Without pain, we're kind of doomed. In fact, there's a condition called congenital analgesia, and it's where people, and there's not many of these, they're born without pain receptors. Do you know that those people pray and beg for pain receptors because they cannot live a normal life, and most of them die by age 30. It sounds like it'd be a wonderful thing to never have a headache or a pain, but the body falls apart. These are so important messages unless they get stuck on, and that's what we're going to kind of talk about today.
Right. Obviously, it is a signal to our body that affects a lot of different things. It's definitely necessary and something that we need in our life, as much as we may not want it sometimes. I'm really curious about the connection with stress with chronic pain, or what maybe we should say chronic stress and chronic pain, because I think those are probably slightly more accurate. So what is happening, like neurologically, even when we're stressed out all the time, and we begin to feel that pain that just won't go away?
Great question. And again, you made the point chronic, because acute pain, we want pain because that's important. It's actually important for healing to have an acute pain. Acute means it just happened. It's over the period of a couple of weeks, things are healing. A chronic is when, there's been months that goes by. And I certainly am a somewhat of a candidate to talk about this. I've had about 19 months of bursitis in my hip that comes and goes. But chronic pain, one is, I'm a huge fan of a physician who's passed away, Dr. John Sarno. We're going to talk a little bit more about his belief system of how to decrease and stop chronic pain and why do we have it. Well, the medical establishment has their ideas of chronic pain, and then there's other ideas. I live in the world of mostly other ideas, and one of those is that the body has such wisdom, but sometimes some of the mechanisms can get switched on that are supposed to be temporary and they become more permanent. Why is that? And stress itself, when we look at stress, we all know what that word kind of means. It's an ongoing heaviness of challenges that just keep pounding us, and we can't seem to pull ourselves out of it. And when we are super stressed, we usually don't sleep as well. The biggest thing is we have more anxiety and fear, and that's what I really want to talk about with this chronic pain, because Dr. John Sarno, he had a theory long ago that when the buttons get stuck on with chronic pain, the real reason is not because your body's broke. It's not because it's still trying to heal, because that was already been done. It's not for any medical reasons. It's because we have shoved our emotions down for so long of anger and sadness and despair, and we are, like Americans, are great at distracting ourselves and powering through and making sure that no one knows that we're hurting inside. You do this long enough, people, and you're going to turn to be 40 and 50, and all of a sudden your body is going to use chronic pain to distract you from the emotional issues that you have shoved down. You know, a lot of times you got to live a few decades before the cup gets full enough for this to happen. It did happen to me. It's happened 3 separate times. And so I'm in the third segment of this. The first two, I fixed it with John Sarno's principles, which is recognizing the fact that I'm not broken. I don't have to be fearful of my body, and I don't want to be medicalized. What does that mean? You go to enough people who put a label on you as far as you have arthritis, you have tendonitis, you have bursitis, you have a broken body, it's going to get in here. And it's going to present itself in the subconscious level that's going to give it permission to keep the chronic pain going. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't use wise advice. It doesn't mean we don't use curcumin and omega-3s, occasionally an Advil, a Motrin, just to make us feel better. But the fear is what is preventing the chronic pain from going away, because the brain is putting pain somewhere because it's fearful. Right. It has perceived danger here, not in your ankle. And it's when this can have peace of mind, and you can say to yourself, I'm not broke. I'm going to continue to live my life. I'm not going to be fearful, and I'm not going to believe all the labels that are put on me. It can be miraculous, believe it or not, Brian. The light, when that light goes off of that perception of this new idea of chronic pain, the first 2 times I had it, it went away within hours once I read Dr. John Sarno's book on back pain. And in the back pain book applies to all pain. It doesn't have to be back pain. But his principles made a light go off on me. I'm still working through some emotions now, I think, as to why this one hasn't gone away.
That's really interesting. So beyond Dr. Sarno's work, practically, is there any advice that you could give people as far as lifestyle changes, diet, nutrition, supplements, etc., just a broad overview to help decrease stress and pain in their life?
You know, to me, Brian, I think that, at least in my life, becoming more mindful and not being on a chaotic pace of life where the chattering of the mind is controlling every direction and every decision and every hour that I live. And what does that mean? You know, there's an old saying that says the mind is a wonderful servant, but it's a horrible master. If we're believing all of the thoughts within us, those come from programmed life and also subconscious, we're kind of a victim, and we are unable to be more present in the moment. We're always 2 steps ahead or 3 steps back. We're never in this exact moment. And being mindful is number one. How do we do that? I use a meditation app called Insight Timer. I think it's one of the best I've ever used, but I also do it without that. I've done it for 40 or 50 years, but I recommend Insight Timer. I think everyone should spend 20 to 40 minutes per day disconnecting from your thoughts, not from your kids and your wife and your house and your job, from your own thoughts. And that gives you clarity in a way that's pretty amazing for not just pain, but for a quality life.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I will say we need people who can reinforce this theory to us. There is on nutritionw.com, Dr. Matt McClanahan. He did a podcast with me called The Neuroscience of Pain. You want to understand in the technical scientific terms what Dr. John Sarno was talking about, go to Nutrition W, scroll down and listen to this. Secondly, on YouTube, I love this guy's named Dan, and he has a site on YouTube called Pain Free You. Every day he posts about a 7-minute, 8-minute little video on how do we get out of chronic pain. This guy has served tens of thousands of people who have chronic pain, and he did it through Sarno's principles. I consulted with him last month, paid $150, best $150 I ever spent. And I love this path of healing because it's not really common. Very few people know about it, and some are probably laughing at it right now. I can tell you for a fact it works. And it will work for me. I just still have some more work to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and with that being said, we have a ton of advocates here at Nutrition World that can help you work through this issue as well. You mentioned Dr. McClanahan. We have acupuncturists, we have massage therapists.
Yes.
A ton of different modalities that can be very helpful for stress. And of course, you have to take care of yourself. Your mind is one of the key parts of holistic care, and that's exactly what we believe in, and that's why we wanted to talk about this today. So with that being said, thanks, Ed, for all that great information, and thank you guys for tuning in. We're always so glad to see you here. Be sure to like and subscribe if you want more content just like this, and we'll see you next time on Nutrition Made Simple. Take care, everyone. Have a good week.
Take care, and thank you.